Hi, my name is Liz Callan and I'm presenting this video today. It's a collaboration between SHIP and the Parent Academy. And today we're making a sausage kale pasta, which is a super easy and versatile recipe. It's amazing because we can incorporate tons and tons of greens into it, so it's very healthy. And greens are in season right now. So look at all these greens I have here. We can use kale. This is like a curly kale. Then we've got another option, different kind of kale. This one is a flat-leafed kale. And we can also use collards. Collards are just as great as kale in this. And then other options would include mustard. So mustard is nice and fresh and zesty if you like that. And you could use chard, which is one of my favorites, or spinach, or even broccoli or broccoli rabe. So those are all great options for greens. And this recipe asks for half a pound of greens, but we're going to see if we can push that to about a pound or a pound and a half, because I love to have lots and lots of greens in the recipe. So what else do we have? We're going to be using sausage. The recipe is for zesty Italian sausage, but I like to do it with chicken sausage. So we've got a chicken sausage here. And then we are going to also experiment with some vegetarian sausage. So we'll do a mixture. We are going to be using rotini, which is a great pasta for this, but you could use any pasta. This is a whole wheat rotini, so we'll be adding some fiber to our meal too to make it even more healthy. And then we need some olive oil. We'll use about a tablespoon plus a teaspoon or two of olive oil. And then we'll be using some broth. So we can use a box broth or a canned broth or a homemade broth. So any option. And then we'll just be garnishing it with some Parmesan cheese. So we'll use some Parmesan cheese, and we'll need a little salt for the water, a little pepper flakes for some flavor, the garlic, of course. We've got 6 cloves of garlic here. Optional ideas for different ways that you can make this would be, for your protein, you could use white beans. So you could use cannellini beans or these great northern beans. That would be amazing. And also, oftentimes we make this here at home without any of the broth. We'll make it at home with just the greens, the garlic, the sausage, and the flavors, and we won't bother with the broth. That's another way. Or you can add some of these fire roasted diced tomatoes, which are some of my favorite things to add. So you could use fire roasted tomatoes instead of the broth. So a great version would be the white beans, the tomatoes, and the greens. So this is a versatile recipe you can make lots of different ways. So the first thing we're going to do is grab a bunch of this kale, and we're going to just slice this into like thin ribbons. We're going to use probably about 3 of these bunches of greens and just see how many we can fit in, because you won't believe how much these greens shrink down when you cook them. And they're what really makes it delicious. Okay, so we've got this chopped up. It doesn't have to be very small. All right, so there's one of our types of kale chopped up. And we've got our second type of kale to chop up here. Kale is full of vitamins and minerals and fiber. There's so much kale that you can get right now at the grocery store, at the market, or out of the garden. It's just a beautiful time of year to have kale. You can see that as we chop this kale, it's really already getting to the point where it looks like it'll fit into a pan. And the collards are nice and thick. We're gonna keep those nice stems on there and chop those finely, and chop the collards up as well. This is going to be a little bit over a pound of greens. Let's see if we can fit it in. Okay, so we got that all roughly chopped. I love to put as many greens as I can into just about anything I'm making. Okay, so there's our collards as well. So meanwhile, we're going to get our water started to boil. So we have a pot filled about halfway with water, and we're going to add a generous amount of salt to the water. So we'll salt the water for the pasta. Okay, and we'll just put that on to boil. So we've chopped our greens. Now what we're going to do is chop up our garlic. So we've got 6 big cloves of garlic. Of course, if you don't have garlic, you could use garlic salt. We're going to go ahead and chop these 6 cloves of garlic up. All right, so once we've smashed the garlic with the knife and peeled it, just chop it up. Doesn't have to be super fine. The recipe is for 3 or 4 links of sausage. So let's use 2 of these small vegetarian patties. And then we're going to use 3 of these chicken sausages. I'll use 2 of the vegetarian because they're kind of small. So we've got, this is going to be our 4 sausages here. And I'm just going to chop them up into bite-sized chunks. Okay, so we've got the sausage all chopped up, chicken and vegetarian. All right, so next up is the chicken broth. So we'll do 2 cups of chicken broth. You can use boxed or canned, or completely omit the chicken broth and make this as a kind of a drier version, which is also really, really good. That's about it. We've got everything all prepared. That's how easy the prep is for this. You could, if you're grating Parmesan cheese, you could get that done too. This is just for the garnish at the end. Otherwise, we are good to go and ready to move over to the stove and start cooking. All right, so now we've got the pasta in the pan going, and we're going to go ahead and start with the sausage. So we put it on about medium-high, and we're going to add a little bit of olive oil. So let's go for about 2 teaspoons. If you're using a sausage that is has more fat in it, like a regular Italian sausage, then you probably just need 1 teaspoon of olive oil. So we'll let that heat up for a sec. Okay, we're ready to brown the sausage. So we'll brown this sausage for probably about 5 minutes till it looks nice and brown. This sausage is already pre-cooked, but if you're using raw sausage, then you'll make sure it's really nice and brown and cooked. And since we don't have an Italian sausage here, we're going to use a little bit of fennel, and this will help bring out that Italian flavor that we're looking for in this recipe. So we'll just add some fennel seeds to this chicken sausage, which is going to make it taste more Italian. All right, this is browning nicely, and the pasta is almost done. Let's check and see if it's al dente yet. Yep, it's done. What we'll do is we'll reserve half a cup of pasta water just in case we need it later. So I took that out. And now I'm going to go ahead and drain the pasta. I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of olive oil. And then this we're going to use to fry up the veggies. So first in we'll add the garlic. Then we'll add a sprinkle of hot pepper. It's about a 1/4 teaspoon, depending on how hot and spicy you like it. Right, so give that one quick stir because we don't want to overcook the garlic. And we'll add in the kale. So this is about a ½ pound of kale right here. But we're going to let this wilt down a little bit, and then we're going to add even more. This is the collards. Got that going in too. Let that cook down a bit. Just let it cook down a little bit so it makes some space in the pan. Now we've got a pound in here of greens. I still think we can get a little bit more. So I'm going to go ahead and add the next batch as well. I don't know, you think we can fit it? Maybe we'll put half. Let's put half of this kale in there. Now we have over a pound of kale in here. Okay, so we're just going to saute this for about 2 or 3 minutes until it gets wilted. This recipe is so simple and so full of greens and wonderful flavor from the sausage and garlic. There we go. Okay, see how it's really wilting now? So it's really wilted down. And I think that now, let's see. All right. I think we can go ahead and add the rest of that kale. There's not much left there. There it is. Okay. Once this kale is all wilted for after about 2 or 3 minutes of sauteing, we are going to add our chicken broth. Okay, looks good. All right, kale is wilted. It's been about 3 minutes. I'm going to add our chicken broth now. So here's our 2 cups of chicken broth. We're going to put those right in. Turn it back up a little bit. Okay, and then we're just going to let this stew with the chicken broth for about another 2 or 3 minutes. Basically, we're really about done with this super easy recipe. Now, if you didn't want to add the chicken broth, you could just toss it with the pasta right then. And you'd have a different kind of, you'd have a different version of this dish. Or instead of chicken broth, this is when you would add your diced tomatoes. We can cover it if we want to. We don't have to. But we'll go ahead and cover this. We'll let it go for about 2 minutes. Okay, wow, it's really cooking. It looks so great. It's stewing in there with the juices of the broth. It's cooking down a little bit. It's cooked about 2 minutes. Let's give it another minute. All right, there we go. That looks really nice and cooked. Still has a bright green color though. All those healthy greens. All right, so now what we do is we add the pasta. So one key to this meal is choosing a pan that's actually big enough to fit all of your pasta and all your greens at the very end, because it all goes together, so the pasta can soak up some of the delicious juices. All right, we've got this in here, and we're going to mix it together. And then you can use some of that reserved pasta water if you think it needs a little bit more of the juice. So I'm going to go ahead and add the reserved pasta water. That was about an extra half cup. I'm going to stir it all together, toss it together. And then we're going to let it simmer for just a little bit more so the pasta can soak up all that flavor. And then we're done. That's it. So super easy. This dish is amazing left over too. It soaks up even more of the flavor. You can see that the greens have completely cooked down now, but we can still see them. There we go. Let's put the cover on. If you don't have a cover for your pan, that's okay too, but we'll let the cover just kind of help it soak up the flavors. And we'll put it on kind of like medium low for maybe another minute or two. It's been about 2 minutes. Let's give it a stir. See how it's doing. Oh wow, it looks great. I think it's done. Look at all those greens in there, but they really disappeared. That was almost 1.5 pounds of greens, and it's going to be perfect. Okay, so we've got our steaming hot pasta dish. This is enough. I think we made enough with our 1 box of pasta and our 3 bunches of greens for about 5 or 6 people. Hopefully we have leftovers. So what we'll do is we'll just serve it, and then you can garnish it with some Parmesan cheese, some more pepper flakes if you want. So we've got some Parmesan cheese here. I'll sprinkle a little of that on. Put a little bit on, and that's it. So this is the amazingly versatile pasta, sausage, and kale dish. And of course, you could make it with cannellini beans if you didn't want to use the meat. You could make it with tomato sauce if you didn't want to use the broth. And it's also great just with the sausage and the kale and the garlic. So enjoy!